Ladies and gentlemen, when Billy Idol had the big hit Creative Love in the early 1990s, a lot of people are saying, where did that song come from? Well, it can only come from probably one of the best and worst rock and roll movies of that year. The Dice Man was in The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Now, this action comedy mystery film, directed by all people Rennie Harlan, was written by David Arnott, James Cappy, and Daniel Walters, based on a story by Arnott and Cappy. The film stars comedian Clay as the title character, Ford Fairlane, a rock and roll detective whose beat is the music industry in LA. True to his name, Ford drives a 1957 Ford Fairlane 500 Skyliner. The film's main character was created by writer Rex Weiner, and a series of stories were published as weekly serials in 79-80 by the New York Rocker and LA Weekly. The stories were published as a book by Rare Bird Comics in July 2018. DC Comics also produced a prequel miniseries of the same name. The film was both a commercial and critical dud, being awarded the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, tying with Bo Derek's Ghost Can't Do It. However, despite its poor reviews, it has dedicated fans around the world and is often regarded as a cult film. Also, Billy Idol's Creative Love for the soundtrack became one of the biggest hits on the Billboard Hot 100 that year, peaking at number 2. Now, Fairlane is seen sitting on a beach at the start, smoking. What a surprise, as the film opens. A flashback initiates showing a roaring crowd at a concert at Red Rocks in Morrison, Colorado, given by fictional popular heavy metal band The Black Plague. Lead singer Bobby Black makes an eccentric entrance down a zip line from Creation Rock onto stage and begins performing. Shortly in one of the band's songs, Bobby Black starts gagging and collapses dead on stage. Now, after the lead singer of the Black Plague is murdered, shock jock Johnny Crunch, an old friend who came west with Fairlane, hires Ford to track down a mysterious teenage groupie called Zuzu Pedals, who may have a connection to Black's death. Sound familiar? Zuzu Pedals. Soon after hiring Fairlane, Crunch is electrocuted on the air. The world's hippest detective soon finds himself trading insults with ruthless record executive Julian Grendel, a clueless cop and a former disco star, Lieutenant Amos, a merciless hitman named Smiley, and countless ex-girlfriends out for his blood. Aiding and abetting Fairlane is loyal assistant Jazz and a hip record producer at the head of a bizarre lineup of suspects, victims, beautiful women, and a koala he finds himself hip deep in the case of his life. The MacGuffin of the film is a tree dated CDs which, when read simultaneously, detailed illegal dealings of Julian Grendel, who was getting rich from bootlegging his record company's music and murdered Bobby Black when he found that Black had acquired the CDs with the incriminating evidence. Both of Fairlane's beloved possessions, his house and his car, are blown to bits, courtesy of Grendel. The first disc was with Colleen Sutton, the second was Zuzu Pedals, and the third disc was hidden under a star for Art Mooney on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It is later revealed that Grendel killed Bobby Black and Johnny Crunch as he considered them both greedy and stupid because he wanted more money for their involvement in pirating CDs to sell to the highest bidder, making Grendel Records and the rest of the music industry corrupt. However, Fairlane kills Grendel by setting him on fire with a flammable alcoholic milkshake and a cigarette. Jazz leaves Fairlane, knowing how ungrateful he is for everything that has happened. Smiley shows up and plans to kill Ford, but not before revealing that he killed his young neighbor's the kid's father. Ford distracts him and kills Smiley with a sleeve pistol. Jazz and Ford decide to reconcile while the kid decides to join their detective agency. Ford eventually wins a $1 million radio contest and buys a yacht. He sails away with Jazz, the kid and the koala, now in a neck brace. They are all one happy family. Now, Andrew Dice Clay is the lead, and Wayne Newton is in it. Priscilla Presley, Lauren Holly, Brandon Call, David Patrick Kelly, Morris Day, Robert Englund, Ed O'Neill, Gilbert Gottfried, Vince Neil, Sheila E., and of course Tone Loc and Kurt Loder as himself. Now, Howard Stern was originally considered for the role of Johnny Crunch. Billy Idol was originally to play Vince Neil's role, and David Brownlee was approached to play Newton's. Now, interesting how it was all put together. Priscilla Presley had made a comeback just a short while before to Naked Gun movies. But like I said, Wayne Newton and Lauren Holly and Priscilla Presley had, some Q factor then. A very atmospheric movie because it's very, very stylized. It's like the 50s meet the 80s. Now, music was a big central part to the film because it was a private detective who specialized in cases arising from the music industry. The soundtrack featured a diverse group of artists. If you can find it on vinyl, it's quite good. The official soundtrack included Creative Love, Billy Idol, which also appeared on his album Charm Life in 1990, Sea Cruise by Dion, Funky Attitude by Sheila E., Glad to Be Alive, Lisa Fisher and Teddy Pendergrass, Can't Get Enough by Tone Loc, Rock and Roll Junkie by Motley Crue, I Ain't Got You by Andrew Dice Clay, Last Time in Paris, Queensryche, Unbelievable by Yellow, and Wind Cries Mary by Richie Sambora. Now, a number of musicians featured on the soundtrack also appeared in the film itself, including Morris Day, Sheila E. and Tone Loc as Slam the Rapper. The members of the fictional band Black Plaid are played by professional musicians. Now, it has Vince Neil, lead singer of Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, bassist Phil Suzanne, and drummer Randy Castillo, and Quiet Riot guitarist Carlos Cavazo. Richie Sambora's contribution to the soundtrack was a cover to Jimi Hendrix' song Wind Cries Mary. Yellow's Unbelievable samples dialogue from the film, although a phone number given as 1-800-PERFECT is changed to 1-800-UNBELIEVABLE. Not appearing on the soundtrack is Booty Time, the song that Ed O'Neill's character performs during the film. Now, Yellow is also credited with the film's music score, and an early cut of their album Babies used as the film's incidental soundtrack. Barry McLenney in Q magazine was critical of the collection and only highlighted the Billy Idol contribution while giving the overall release 2 out of 5. Now, the film received generally negative reviews upon release. Review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported an approval rating of 25% based on 32 reviews with an average rating of 4.3 out of 10. On Metacritic, the film has 24 out of 100 based on 13 critics, indicating generally unfavorable of reviews. However, audience surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a grade B on a scale from A+ to F. Roger Ebert gave the film 1 star out of 4 and called the film loud, ugly, and mean-spirited, but he also suggested that Clay had the confidence and screen presence for a successful acting career if he can move beyond his shtick, but he was always already a proven actor because he did Pretty in Pink, he did MASH, he did Night Patrol. He could, like I said, Amazon Women on the Moon, he could act. Now, the film was not a financial success during his original theatrical release, making just over $21 million in the States. According to Clay, he pulled my movie. In a week, it was a lightning rod for everything politically correct. Now, awards it won MTV Video Music Awards. It won Best Video for a Film for Billy Idol's Cradle of Love. It won an ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards trophy for most performed songs for motion pictures. But Golden Raspberry, Joel Silver and Steve Perry won Worst Picture. Worst Director, Rennie Harlan nominated. Worst Actor, Andrew Dice Clay. Supporting Actor, Godfrey and Newton were nominated. And Worst Screenplay, Daniel Waters and David Arnott and James Capp. Story by James Capp and David Arnott. And based on characters created by Rex Weiner. Now, not to be confused with Dice Rules, which is the concert film. That better to be not talked about. It only made $637,000 in the box office. That's all I can say. Worse. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here with our podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, keep your stick in the ice. Bye.